You see, everyone wants to time the market. They want to buy at that perfect time. But it's not about timing the market, it's about time in the market. Hi there, welcome to Real Life in Real Estate. I'm Mark Peebles, here to help you live your best life and achieve ultimate success. Today on the show, I'm flying solo, but I think we've got a good topic for you today. I want to talk to you about the librarian's dilemma. Now, we're sitting in that and you're going, what? Okay, so let me tell you, a couple weeks ago, I was actually teaching a class out of my area, out of my market, and we were in a local library to teach the class. And so I arrive at the library and I'm talking to the librarian at the front desk, and I said, we're here for the 10:30 class and going to get all set up. And she said, well, great. They've got a story time going in there currently. And I said, okay, well, what time will that get out? And she said, well, it's due to be over at 10:30. And so instantly I was like, we're supposed to be starting a continuing education class at 10:30. But ultimately, I had a few minutes to spare. I was there early and I had a few minutes to spare. And I ended up picking a seat where I was close to the room. And I started seeing what's going on in that room. And I see this librarian doing this story time for these kids. And I was like, wow, she was so engaging and she had slides and she was like, all the kids were laughing and really excited. I thought, man, this is awesome. And so this is not really what I'm talking about today, but I want to say this. For all of the librarians out there, I believe it's kind of like a lost art, or it's an art that we don't think of. Librarians aren't just helping you find the books in the local library, but it's the ones that put their whole heart into what they do that just absolutely amaze me. And I was watching this librarian just engage these kids, and she totally loved what she was doing. So I guess my first lesson out of that for you today is that whatever you do, in fact, it does say this in the Bible, it says, whatever you do, whether in word or in deed, do it heartily, or do it with all of your heart. And so I'm just giving credit to this amazing librarian in Toledo, Ohio, who was doing a story time for these kids and doing it with all of her heart. It was so much fun to watch. And she got out way before 10:30. I mean, we were fine on time. But I went in and we started setting up, and she said, oh, I'm here. I'm going to help you set up the room. Don't worry about it. And we talked about her story time, and we talked about how long she had been at the library. And she asked what I was there for. And I said, oh, well, I'm teaching a real estate continuing education class today. So realtors are going to come from around the area. They're going to learn what's going on, how to better serve their clients. And it's what I'm passionate about doing, kind of like she's passionate about doing story times, right? And so she said, you know what? Since you're an expert in real estate, I should probably ask you this question. My husband and I are really at a point where we have two kids. We want to expand our family, but we just don't have space in our current home. And we want to buy, but we're just concerned, is now the right time to buy another home? And I said, well, tell me what your concern is. And she said, well, basically it's that there's so much volatility in the world right now. I mean, there's a war going on. We've seen that interest rates have gone up. We are seeing that there's so much political divide, and it seems like there's a different news headline every day. And I don't know, we're just kind of nervous about it. I said, you know what? That makes perfect sense, right? Especially in this world where we are now in a 24-hour news cycle where everything is coming at us at once. It's crazy, all of the headlines that we're hit with every single day. So I get it. The thing is, like, let's go back to the previous administration. Was it any different? No, because with the 24-hour news cycle, they're not like doing a full hour newscast on everything great happening in the world, right? In fact, if you want to engage someone like Donald Miller, who is one of my favorite marketers out there, he says the first thing that you have to do to engage someone is tell them what their problem is. State the problem first. And as agents, we can market ourselves that way. What is the problem that we solve? Well, the 24-hour news cycle, the reason they engage people, that they get people locked into it, is because they're only talking about problems all the time. And they're not just reporting news anymore. We used to watch the news. Like when I was a kid, I wanted to be the next Peter Jennings. I loved Peter Jennings, the ABC News anchor, and I would watch him at the news desk every single night of the week. The weeknights, Peter Jennings would sit at that news desk at 6:30 on ABC News and deliver the news. And it was only 30 minutes long, so they only had so long to get all of that news out. But then what happened is we got into this whole 24 hours of news every day, and we stopped delivering the news. So if you watch Fox News or CNN or MSNBC, they might deliver this much news. In fact, watch one of the evening commentators on any of those 24-hour news cycle networks. They might deliver like 2 minutes of news. It's funny because they'll actually do a breakaway where a guy in a studio delivers 2 minutes of news, and then they come back to the show host or the hosts of the show, and they're just talking about problems and then giving analysis or bringing in experts to give their analysis on all of the bad news that's going on in the world, trying to predict what is going to happen. And so think about that. We don't watch the news anymore and get just the news. We watch and we get all of this analysis that says the sky is falling, the world is going to end, the economy is going to crash, don't buy a house now, real estate's terrible. And these news commentators are literally just that. They're just commentators, and their job is to get people to watch the news. And good news doesn't sell. So the librarian's seeing all of this, and I said, well, what was different during the previous administration? And she's like, well, yeah, I know there was a lot of division. Yeah, there was a lot of division then too. And guess what? If the administration changes, which after this 4 years, the administration's going to change again, and whether it's Republican or Democrat, guess what? The news is going to keep reporting all of the bad stuff that's happening in the world. They're going to keep scaring you. There's always going to be another crisis that's going to hit the market because the crisis sells. And so we walked through this conversation, and I said, you know, really what it comes down to is that it's about the market. It's about the market that you live in. Like, what is important in the market to your family? Your family is in the market to expand, and you're in a place where you can't do it right now. So really forget the market, and let's look at what's important to you and your husband and to your family and to your future and to your legacy. You see, everyone wants to time the market. They want to buy at that perfect time. But it's not about timing the market. It's about time in the market, right? Because you and I know that if you're going to buy a house that you're going to be in, a home that you're going to be in for the next 5 or 8 or 10 years, you're going to do fine on that home. You're going to come out ahead. It's going to provide you equity that then when you sell, you're going to be able to roll into your next home. When you move up or if you move down, you're going to build equity. You're going to be building wealth for your family. You see, what we see in the real estate market when we look through the decades proves that this is the case. Because, like, look at every recession, and I don't know. Listen, I don't know if they're talking about a recession right now. I know they're talking about inflation going up again. They're talking about all these things that are scary to consumers. But the reality is, even if we went into another recession. Do you know, looking back historically at the recessions in the United States, there's really only been one in the past, you know, 60 years, 70 years. There's really only been one where we have actually seen home values go down. That was 2008. I lived through that. But guess what? It happened in 2008 and then it bounced right back. It did. Within a couple of years, we started to see the market go back up. Now, that one lost a lot. I think in my market alone, we lost close to 10%. That is a huge value loss, right? But it is so rare. Every other recession, what has actually happened is home values go up. And so that's what we've got to reinforce with people is what's right for your family in the market right now, right? Because it's not about timing the market. Okay, so let's just say tomorrow the war in Iran ends. All right, great. The war in Iran is over. Interest rates might come down a little bit, but at the end of the day, does it make that big of a difference? Did it affect your family from wanting to expand? Because if we're making decisions based on what's going on in the world around us, there's always going to be something going on in the world that makes us say, no, I'm not bringing any more kids into the world, and I'm not going to grow as a human being. In fact, I'm just going to give up because the world is too bad of a place. Well, the world's always going to be a bad place. But there's some really good things in the world too. Let me tell you what one of the best things in the world is. That third kid, right? I had two kids, two perfect children. And we had a surprise pregnancy. We were done. We weren't going to have any more kids. We had a surprise pregnancy with our third. And man, she's 16, going on 17 years old now. And man, I can't imagine life without her. Oh, it's the best thing in the world. You know what? When I get home to her and I talk to her about her day and she says, hey, Dad, can we go here or can we go there? Or sometimes, a lot of times, she even calls me. It's like, Dad, can you put some money in my account? I got to say, I literally treasure those things. And when she calls me, I'm not thinking, well, there's a war going on right now. We really shouldn't have had you in the first place. No, you make it work. In fact, I'll go all the way back. Right after I got married, I was in pharmaceutical sales. I was with Pfizer. I walk into an office and, you talk to the gatekeepers right there at the front desk, the receptionist, and you're trying to build relationships with them to get opportunities to get into the back of the doctor's office and actually talk to the doctor. Well, I had a great relationship with her, and we had just gotten married within like the last year. And she said, Mark, so when are you going to start having babies? And I said, well, we're going to wait until we're debt free and we're going to wait until we're in a little bit better position. And she said, Mark, honey, if you wait for that, you're never going to be in a perfect position for it. And literally, no joke, within probably 2 months of having that conversation, I think I was settled in my spirit with starting our family, and we did, right? And so with that said, there's never going to be a perfect time. And it's not about timing the market. It's about time in the market when it comes to your home value. The longer you own it, the more home value you're going to have. But really, what's most important to your family? Because when you have that third child, that fourth child, for some of you, it's just starting a family. You're going to look at that child and it's going to be the best thing that ever happened to you. And the war, politics, that is going to be the furthest thing from your mind. So right now, as agents, we need to be encouraging people to get into the market and do what's right for their family. I've got a couple right now, one of my favorite clients ever. They're buying a home and they're nervous about it. This is actually the third home they will have owned. And they're nervous about it. It's at the top of their budget. In fact, last night they texted me and they said, can you call us? We're freaking out a little bit. And that's okay. They're going to freak out a little bit. But what I have told them is, listen, you guys are going to look back 5 years from now. There will be no regrets that you bought this home. I could tell because when they walked into it, they fell in love with it. We're actually able to negotiate a really good price for them. And it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful home for them to raise their families in. And that's what we get to sell. We get to sell the opportunity for you to bring the family into the living room on Christmas and see all the presents that Santa brought. Like they're going to have those memories in that home. Not like, oh yeah, when we bought this, we were in a war, right? Like that's going to be the furthest thing from their minds. It's really just about getting in and spending the time in that family home, making the memories in that home. That is what matters. So you don't need to worry about timing the market because there's always going to be the next crisis. You just want time in the market. When we look at this year, we started out the year great. Lawrence Yun from the National Association of Realtors, he told us we were going to see 14% growth in the market. And every agent on the planet was like, yeah, let's go. 14% more sales this year in 2026 than there were in 2025. And that was exciting news. But then the next crisis happened, right? The next war happened, right? The things that are unexpected, that are always going to happen. And now they've adjusted that to be 2% in the market. And I'm talking to agents. I own a company, and in talking to agents, there's agents that are nervous about this. Like, hey, tell us what we should be doing, because they're definitely seeing the market soften, right? Maybe you're seeing the market soften. And then interest rates, man, we got down to 5.99, right? I had clients getting down into the 5 upper 7s, 5.8s. Man, that's phenomenal. Now they're back up to 6.3, right? So agents are really nervous because they've seen things soften in the market. And when you look at the predictions in the market the rest of this year, there's a lot of them. Like right here, I've got Fannie Mae. They're predicting that Q2, we're going to be at 6.3. We're in Q2 right now. MBA, Mortgage Broker Association, says 6.3. Wells Fargo, 6.25. Now, everyone's predicting that they're going to trickle down. So it's like average of 6.28 for Q2, 6.23 for Q3, and then down to 6.17 by Q4. But let me tell you something. What they're not taking into account is the next crisis that's going to hit the 24-hour news cycle that's going to cause everyone to freak out and rates to go back up. Or that the war ends, gas prices jump down, and all of a sudden rates are in the upper 5s again, and we are on like Donkey Kong in this market. See, they can't truly predict all of this stuff. None of them knew in January that there was going to be political turmoil and a potential war in Iran. No one knew all of that stuff. But we as agents were so guilty of hearing what the experts say and then running our lives by it. Instead of doing what I recommend you do, control the controllables. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's see. Number one, what's the number one thing as an agent that I can control today? Well, one, I can show up. So many agents, when things get quiet, they freak out. They don't know what to do. They freeze up and they're like, you know what? Instead, I'm just going to go shopping with my wife today, or I'm just going to work on the yard today, or I'm just going to pull up and I'm going to get everything ready so I can start talking to people tomorrow. Then tomorrow comes and they're like, yeah, I didn't finish yesterday. And really what it is they're nervous about it. They're nervous to pick up the phone and make a call or send a text message. And so because they are nervous and are afraid that people are going to reject them, they never talk to anyone and they don't show up. That's the number one issue that I see with agents in our industry today. Go in any real estate office across the country, the vast majority of them are sitting empty today because agents aren't showing up. So what's the first controllable? Show up every single day. And the big thing is, you've heard me talk about the 4 work modes: connective work, performance work, deep work, and essential work. The problem is we get a couple transactions under contract and we focus only on essential work. We stop connecting with people. So I'm telling you today, what am I going to do when I show up? The first thing I'm going to do is connect with people. Do that for 30 minutes to an hour every single day. I promise you, no matter what happens in the market, you're going to be busy. So just show up. Number two thing you can do. What's your number 2 controllable? It is consistent, systematic relationship building. All right. So here's what you should do. 1, connect with people, calls and text messages. Set up client home value reports or annual real estate reviews. They're called in other places. I teach a client home value report. Provide an annual report like any professional would that you go to, your CPA, your doctor giving you a health report, your financial advisor. You prepare one that tells your clients and prospective clients what the current value of their home is in this market. And that call, now you've got a purpose because you're calling, you're building relationships, talking about family, occupation, recreation, dreams. That's called the Ford model: family, occupation, recreation, dreams. You go through that Ford model, and then you say, oh, by the way, one thing I'm offering to my clients now is I want to do an annual review of your real estate value or your home value right now. And I wanted to see, could I set up 10 or 15 minutes? We'll jump on Zoom together. I'll walk you guys through all the data around your house and let you and answer any questions that you might have. And that way you'll just have good information on where your home stands in the market and what the market's doing around your home right now. Guess what? It's the easiest appointment you'll ever set. Why? Because people want to know what their home values are. But here's the thing. You got to be consistent and systematic about this, right? So you're making your calls. You're setting up annual client home value reports. Then you're doing a monthly mailer, a snail mail, yes, a postcard, something lands in their inbox every month. You're sending handwritten notes out to everyone every year. They're getting a handwritten note from you, just thinking about you. Then you're sending 2 emails of value to them every month. And a great one to send is use a platform like List Reports or HomeBot, where you can send out a monthly home value that is automated and automatically goes to them. Guess what? They're going to open that, right? Then you're doing all of these things. Well, let's get on social media. Let's actually put out some videos talking about what's going on in the market, or showing off your new listing, or getting a video, getting video feedback from one of your buyers or sellers that you just closed with on what they loved about working with you. Post that stuff on your social media. And then the last thing is do a client event. I talked to a big team recently where they do a quarterly event for their client base, and every single client in their database, and it's like 1,500 people, gets a direct call and text message and email inviting them to that quarter's event. So they're touching base with everyone every quarter. But here's the thing. You've got to be consistent and systematic. Consistency means that you're reliable to show up. Systematic, well, that ensures that you can be reliable to show up, because if you try to be reliable, consistent, without any systems in place, you're going to be exhausted. And we don't want that either. So, controllables, show up every day, consistent, systematic, relationship building. And then third, and I think very important, be prepared to talk to librarians about the market. This all started with that conversation that I had with a librarian who is scared right now, but wants to expand their family. What are you going to say to them? I'll tell you a lesson that I learned from my dad. My dad's one of the greats, 54 years in this business, my mentor, someone that still to this day, when I have a problem, I call him. We kick it around together, right? I love those conversations with him. But one of the things that he taught me young in my career, and I've done this for 20 years, is that it is always a good time to buy, and it's always a good time to sell. And he's just great at talking about that. When someone asked him what's going on in the market right now, he had studied the market. He knew what was going on in the market, but he was able to tell you why now is a good time to buy and sell. What's your answer for that? Because people are counting on you as a professional to be able to educate them on what is going on in the market. So, 24-hour news cycle. People are worried about whether or not to buy homes. What are you going to do? You're going to control the controllables. What do you control? Whether or not you show up. You control consistently and systematically building relationships. And you control your preparedness. Is that right? Preparedness, your preparation to talk about the market. Tell them why it's a good time to buy and sell. So, I think those are all my thoughts for today. I hope this is helpful to you. There's going to be chaos out here, but you need to be prepared to keep going in the chaos. Now, here's a great way to help you. We have a great way to help you. It's called the Ultimate Success Framework, and specifically the course that we have launched is 100 Days to 100K. So if you want to jumpstart your business, if you're slow right now, if you're feeling scared right now, you're not sure what to do when you show up every day, 100 Days to 100K is going to help you do that. It focuses on your two most valuable assets, your time. We are all on limited time. And then your relationships. Within your time, are you building relationships? Are you doing the most important things and consistently, systematically showing up and building those relationships? So to find out more, you're going to go to itsmarkpeebles.com, itsmarkpeebles.com. And then I encourage you guys, if you're watching this on YouTube, please click to subscribe. I know you hear that on every single video. And the reality is that we need in the algorithm for you to click to subscribe, and then you'll get a notification that shows you when our new videos come out, which is weekly. And then if you're listening right now on the podcast, open up your YouTube app and go over there and follow us on our YouTube channel at It's Mark Peebles, at It's Mark Peebles. Well, listen, guys, I believe it's a great time to buy and sell. It's a great time to be a realtor. There is never a bad time to be in this business. You just have to go out, show up, build relationships, and be prepared to talk to people about what's going on in the market. They are counting on you. Have a great week, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.